he's missed. Sheffield United beat them here, should have got something at their place, so we can hold our own against these sides. It's against the so-called lesser teams what's let us down in recent weeks, really, hasn't it, where we've let points slide. So coming here today, again, yes, we'll be favourites to take the 3 points, but as I said there, Hull last season came up just short of the playoffs. Obviously change of manager hasn't worked for him, they've changed manager again. Sellers coming in I think it was early December. He's had 1 or 2 good results and 1 or 2 poor results, so perhaps you don't know what you're getting from Hull as well. But yeah, they've got some tidy players. I said I watched the game against Sheffield United the other week at Bramall Lane. They won 3-0. They played some good football. They've got some good technicians in the side. So if they come up here and play with a little bit of freedom, obviously they're 4th from bottom as it stands, so yes, they need points to try and pull away. But like we said against the other sides who have come up, the likes of Plymouth and Watford, who've come up here, and as the game wore on, they thought, do you know what, we can have a go at these, and that was the case that day. You know, both sides scoring 2, Plymouth and Watford as well, and taking a point away from us. So how many times can we say, yes, you want to start the game bright. We've got 30-odd thousand plus Sunderland fans in the stadium, and you want a bit of tempo, you know, get some shots away early on and play with a bit of enthusiasm, and that'll get the crowd on side.
Should we have a look at the league table quickly, Danny, because you mentioned a lot of things there, and a lot of things are at play this afternoon, of course, as well. But if we just look at the Sunderland situation and how they sit in that top 6, if you like, so you can see the gap really down to 7th. The 48 points which West Bromwich Albion are on at the moment. You read up the table, you've got Bristol, who got a big win last night against Middlesbrough. Blackburn, who have recently lost their manager. Then you got us, over 10 points difference between ourselves and Blackburn Rovers. But reading up from Sunderland, though, Danny, that's when the kind of the frustrations, I guess, for the Sunderland fans are, because Burnley, they're still in touching distance as long as we keep up pace this afternoon. But that gap, you can see Sheffield United on 70 and also Leeds United now on 72. Of course, they meet in the biggest game of the season on Monday as well, don't they?
That's right, So I think, if you look at that, I think even last night, I watched the game last night, Burnley and Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday should have been 2 or 3 up after 10 minutes, and teams just can't score against Burnley for some reason. Teams are getting opportunities.
9 goals conceded all season.
It's ridiculous. But they're well organised. I look, the centre-backs are decent as well, to be fair, and obviously the keeper Trafford in behind them as well.
Do you really rate Trafford? I know we had that game against Burnley, but do you rate him as a goalkeeper?
No, obviously looking at him last season in the Premier League, he had 1 or 2 iffy moments, if you want to call it, but he's still a young lad. He's obviously growing. He's got a decent back 4 in front of him as well, and as you say, the record speaks for itself really as well. I think people have obviously spoke at the other end of the pitch where I think they've had 11 0-0s this season, so at the back, they're keeping the door shut, but they've had games where they've struggled to break sides down. I think Preston last week was another example of that. And
they strengthened quite well in January as well, didn't they?
They brought a few in,
Edwards.
Well. Shelby's come in as well, and he got 10 minutes or so last night. But last night, they won the game 4-0, but having watched the game and over the 90 minutes, there wasn't a lot in it really, but they're being ruthless last night, putting the ball away. Sheffield Wednesday had some good opportunities and didn't put the ball in the back of the net, and that's the case. Coming up against the top sides, you've got to take your opportunities when they come along, and we didn't at Burnley a couple of weeks ago either.
Should we look at the Sunderland side now, if we can, please? Because Sunderland go into this one, Danny, unchanged, and it's an unchanged bench as well.
Yes, as it was, isn't it, really? I think, again, coming out of it, and I know a lot of fans spoke, was it the right changes during the game? I think you go back to second half. First half, thought we were excellent, set up. You've got to respect the opposition. Leeds are a good footballing team, so you're going to have long periods where you've got to be organised behind the ball, and we were in that first half. Limited them to very little in terms of, I think Dan James had a couple of half chances at best, didn't he?
Exactly. But then, you can't remember Anthony Patterson having a period of the game when he was peppered.
No, he wasn't, no. I think James had that one, no real power in it. He had the header where he got up above Dennis at the far post. Other than that, he didn't have a save to make up for all the 10 corners or so they had in the first half. Second half, similar really, although they forced us back, we couldn't get out. Wilson's 10 yards from the edge of our box. You've got Patrick almost on Trey's toes, and then Lafay is almost on Dennis's toes, and they forced us back really, and there's no outball really. I've been in games like that myself. I know Chris Rigg was trying to get on it, and by the time he was getting the possession...
Let's go into the highlights then, Danny, because you're talking about some specific moments there from the game on Monday night, and it was such a big game, and of course, when you go in 1-0 up at half-time and things weren't coming off for Leeds at that point, you're thinking, could this be Sunderland's night?
Yeah, well, it was, and early on it was a good switch from Dan Ballard. Again, I thought Dan was excellent on Monday night, and big opportunity.
That was an early chance.
Yeah, it was Joe coming onto it. Listen, I think he's done everything right. I think people have said put your laces through it, but it's a firm strike. he's not got a lot to work with, and you see it from behind. There's 2 or 3 white shirts in front of him there, so I think he does the right thing in trying to go for the firm side foot finish in the bottom corner. I think there's a little deflection off Firpo, just takes a bit off it, and Meslier gets across to deal with it. But we've seen a lot of these situations where Leeds on the counter attack. Leeds can play both ways. They're happy in possession as well, but on the same time on the counter here now you see, and they get bodies forward. They've got good pace down the flanks. Solomon, I think, is a decent player, and obviously Dan James has been more than handy this season for them as well, hasn't he? But you know that, and I'm sure the lads worked on it during the week. Going to Ellen Road, we're going to have to suffer at times, a lot of hard yards, out of possession, behind the ball. And we did that, and as you say, coming off at half time, the lads are in front. Job's had a good opportunity as well, and we limited them as the first goal now. So look from the back, and I think Leeds as well showed us a little bit of respect where they didn't really press, as you see there. Centre forward there, he's just doing a few doggies, ball into Ballard.
Ballard's good at that, isn't he?
Yeah, nice little ball down the channel, and then Ampadu just gets far too tight to Wilson. Good strength, rolls him in the box. He's trying to bring him down in the end, Ethan. I think he just has a little bit of his shirt, doesn't he? He knows he's got wrong side too tight, and then it's a good finish from Wilson. As you say, he could have gone down, maybe looking for the penalty, but he stays on his feet. He wants to get the shot away, and he does, and it's in off that post, and then we're in front. And then
I think Joe Rodon should have moved across a little bit there.
He probably thinks at this point there, he thinks, my captain's got him in a good position, he's taking care of this, but then he comes across, but it's too late then. You see it happens quite quick. Obviously we're slowing it down, but you see Ampadu there, just gets on the left side of him, gets on the outside, and then no, good strength from Wilson as well. And what I keep saying about Wilson, he's very rarely involved in the game, but when he is, he makes things happen, doesn't he? Let's say there, that fan there, he's enjoyed it. He thinks we're off and running, and Wilson's enjoyed it as well.
Yes, another good moment for Wilson Isidore in front of those travelling Sunderland fans. And then back here at the Stadium of Light as well, it went bananas.
Yeah, we were in the room next door, weren't we? We could hear it through the wall. They're enjoying it, and at that stage I think we were, say, good value for it. It's not all about possession in games. I'm not sure what the stat was at the end of it, but we more than held our own in terms of opportunities. I think, did we have a corner on the night in the end? I think they had 11 or 12. We didn't have a corner, and that's their best opportunity. You see there, Dan James cutting in, and Anthony Patterson, comfortable for him, and then that one there, that's not even a chance really, is it? He just gets up above Dennis, but that was that really. Start the second half, actually, for the first couple of minutes, we actually started okay. You see Trey there getting in, catches it quite well, but comfortable for Meslier. But then it was all about Leeds from here on in, wasn't it? And I was thinking, are we going to look to make some changes now? The lads have put a lot in, and I've been in these games where you come up against some of the top sides, even Premier League level. You're getting the run around, you're doing a lot of running, you're not touching the ball, and it drains you. And Chris Rigg was your prime example, and Isidore. You can see on the highlights how deep we are here, and when you're winning the ball, you get swarmed by white shirts, and you've got nowhere to go. So yes, we made a couple of changes, and then hindsight's a wonderful thing. Fans will have been chatting about, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we change them? We don't know if it would have had an impact on the game.
One thing we did notice from Leeds' changes as well, Gruever was on set pieces pretty much all night, and they weren't really landing any punches on Sunderland.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rothwell comes on, and he becomes the man on set pieces, and then ultimately he changed the game with his other substitute who came on as well as Stroik came on the goals as well.
Well, here's 1-8 now. Yeah, but again, we give the free kick away. Obviously Patrick, I said, put a lot in off the ball. Bit of a lazy challenge, wasn't it? Dangled the leg, brings him down.
What can Sunderland do better from the set piece though?
Well, Salis has come on there. I don't think it's a foul, I've got to be honest. He gets a little bit of contact, he goes down, but then it opens up. See there, you got 2 or 3 white shirts in between. You got, is it Meander at the front there, and Joe, look there now, there's the 3 of them in that queue really, and he just gets a touch on it. Again, people have said, can Patterson come? I don't think it's a keeper's ball. I know it's 6-yard line, and it's an in-swinger, but I think if he comes for that, he's not getting there, and it gets headed over him. On this one, I mean, you talk about fortune, we could do better. I think we could do a little bit more here.
That's a miskick.
And he goes for the shot, he slices it, and then Lafayette, he's got to put the brakes on there, do a bit more. He runs past the ball, and then this one, I know this one's a debate between Anthony Patterson. Does he come and get something on it? I think from the other angle, what we've just seen there,
it's strikes outside the box at this point.
Yeah, and then we're organising. You see Dan Ballard's gone with the 19. I think it's Joseph that's come on. And it's whipped him with pace there, and this one, it doesn't look good for Anthony Patterson, but I think from the other angle there, it's past him before he can get there really, and it happens quick, and we've slowed it down. I think, if you're honest, could be a little bit of marking there. Somebody's got a bump strike on his way through. He just waltzes through the bodies really and gets another header. So you can say from their point of view, Farker, great substitutions. He's brought 2 on, Rothwell's got 2 assists, and Stroik's got 2 goals to his name. And maybe you can say our substitutions didn't really stem the flow of the game really, or have much of an impact really. But it's hard sometimes when the game gets away from you in terms of possession, and you're forced back to try and get it back, then to try and get back on track really. And unfortunately it got away from us. But the disappointing thing is it's 2 set pieces really which have undone us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay then, what we'll do now, we'll go through a quick break, and then when we return we'll have a look at the Sunderland team, and of course Hull City as well, and if we're lucky we'll be joined by club historian Rob Mason as well. Welcome back everyone to SAFC Live. We're pitch side here for a 12:30 kickoff, and we're joined now by club historian Rob Mason as well. Rob, we're going to throw the team news up now for everyone, and you can talk us through it, as well as Danny, as we are unchanged from Monday night, a game I imagine you'd like to reflect on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was obviously missing from action with yourself and Danny on Monday night because I was down at Elland Road. Thought we played well, particularly in the first half. Credit to Leeds. I mean, Danny's been on all season. Leeds, the best team we played.
Yep.
Can't argue with him. After Monday night, they were very, very good. Having said that, as disappointing it was on the night, you know, as it travelled back up, reflecting on the game later in the week, you've got to say, for all Leeds' pressure, for all Leeds had the ball, for all of how good they were on the ball, they didn't exactly carve us open lots of times. The 2 goals were from set players. Pato hasn't had an awful lot to do in the game.
We said this, didn't we?
You know, the defence were very good. So it's history now. It's disappointing to have lost the game, but it's gone, it's done. We know we've got to put right the problem of conceding late goals. Recently, we've scored a couple of telling late goals ourselves, of course. And importantly now, we turn our attention to Hull, and we've got to make sure that we don't slip up against Hull, because that would make it a very bad week as well. And one of these days, we might well lose our unbeaten home record. Got to make sure we don't take that home record for granted. come out and do the business today.
Danny, happy with the starting 11? No changes on the bench or the starting 11?
Yeah, I thought he may have changed it. As I say, the lads had to put a lot in Monday off the ball. Like to Chris Rigg, Patrick Roberts wanted to spend more time and Lafayette in their half. Obviously, second half we got penned in and couldn't get out really. I was thinking, I keep saying it maybe Meander. I go back to a few weeks ago where Meander and Isidore almost as a front two were causing the opposition problems with their pace and their power. I was thinking, will he go back to that this afternoon? But he's gone with that same 11 as started on Monday night. Again, tempo and urgency. It's a different game this afternoon where Monday we knew going to Leeds it was going to be tough and we had to be organised, out of possession, almost what we see a lot of teams come in here and doing to ourselves, and it's difficult to break down, and that was the case on Monday for Leeds. So it was a couple of set pieces which undone us in the end. But today it's going to be a tricky one. As I said, I've seen these a couple of weeks ago against Sheffield United, won 3-0 down at Bramall Lane, and they've got some good players. Obviously, new manager come in, I think 6th of December, so he's been in charge for a month or so now, hasn't he? Just over. And he's trying to get them going and pull away from that relegation zone. But from our point of view, urgency, tempo, move the ball quick this afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be another potential banana skin this afternoon.
Well, it is. We're talking about Sheffield United losing home to Hull. It's not too long since Hull also held Leeds 3-3 at Hull. I think Hull will come in today. I expect them to be very compact, make it difficult for us. They've shown at Sheffield United how capable they are of stinging teams on the break, and we've got to be patient today. Look, if it's 0-0 after 60 minutes, don't need the crowd getting edgy, thank you very much. As long as we win, it doesn't matter if we score ourselves in the 89th minute, as long as we come off with a win. But if we go looking too much for the game and pushing too many men forward, then we run the risk of Hull getting ahead and us having to then chase the game against the team who are happy to sit in. So we've got to be patient. Look, we're the better team. We know we're the better team than Hull. We're capable of beating them, but we've got to go out and make it happen. As Danny says, we need a bit of urgency, intensity. I think that's why Danny's thinking he might have freshened it up a little bit today. But on the other hand, the game was Monday night. It's Saturday now. We've just got to be patient and make sure we do the job professionally this afternoon.
Yeah, talking about freshening things up, Hull City have made 3 changes coming into this game. Let's have a look at them for the first time this afternoon, Danny. And Rob made some very, prominent remarks there about the fans needing to be patient, and we can't throw everyone forward because they're a good side. Hull, they've got some good players. They may be 4th off bottom, but they've just got Louis Barry, who's the most wanted young player in the country.
From Villa, on that left-hand side. So no, as I said there, and I like Joseph as well. I think he was at Wigan a couple of years ago, and I thought
he had a good season at Blackpool recently as well.
So he's a decent player. So as you say, they've made a few changes. John Egan coming out and Charlie Hughes coming in at centre-back as well. So he's made a few changes, trying to get them going, isn't he? As I say, it is tight down the bottom of the table, as it is for obviously 1 or 2 trying to get into the playoffs at the top end as well. But yeah, their game plan coming here, tight and compact, out of possession, as it was at Sheffield United, and it worked for them. They had chances on the counter-attack, and that'll be the case today. So yeah, it's not so much about over-committing. I think if you look at ourselves, you've got the insurance with Dan Neil sat in front of the back 4. Yes, Trey can go at times, and obviously Dennis, you want to see him flying forward. But it's Chris Rigg and Jobe as well, getting a few more goals. I think they're both on 4th of the season. Yeah. They've got to start scoring more as well. We're relying on Wilson too much at this moment in time.
I think off the top of my head, we've got 17 different scorers this season. But really, Wilson is the man you're looking to for a goal. If anybody else scores, it's a little bit of a pleasant surprise. We need to get a few more people up with 5, 6 and 7 goals and take the weight off Wilson, who's been exceptionally good. He's been absolutely terrific, but we can't expect one man to score all the goals. It's nice to share them around, but I'd like to see people with a few more goals as we do share them around.
That's something I noticed when we played Leeds on Monday. You look around their squad and they've got like 10s and 7s and 11s and 12s from their midfield, haven't they, as well? So it's that real strength and depth of supportive players around the front line as well.
It's Patrick as well for me. I know Rob says I love him in the team, and I get the same, but end product's got to be there for Patrick now. 2 goals for a player of Patrick's ability isn't good enough at this stage of the season.
And one
of
them was a penalty. I know he missed the penalty at Sheffield, but it was Plymouth. He did score the penalty. So I agree. Yes, he does. I mean, he does. I still maintain that with the opposition are delighted if he's not in the team when they get the team sheet. But I do agree, his stats have got to add up to a bit more than they are. So when I'm talking about people adding a few more goals, he's one of the people that's got to do that. Not the only one, but one.
No, he's not. No, he's obviously Lafayette's got 1. But thinking about Patrick, we've got 2 defenders, Luke O'Nien and Dennis Sirkin have got 3 each. So they've got more than Patrick, and they're at the opposite end of the pitch. So he's got to start contributing, and other lads have as well.
And similar kind of players, we have Romain Mundle back on the bench. He was on the bench on Monday, didn't feature. Tommy Watson hopefully back by this time next week at least. You'd hope, you'd imagine might be involved against Sheffield Wednesday, fingers crossed. So there's going to be competition in those attacking wide players as well.
Absolutely, and I think Regis is the kind of head coach that will sort of share that load a little bit. Not necessarily in making a lot of changes to the starting lineup, but he's been criticised a little bit for not making too many subs this season. I think as he gets a stronger squad and looks at a stronger bench, we might find more often that come the hour mark he's making 2 and 3 subs, because you could take Mundle off and bring Watson on, or vice versa, for instance, just to talk about one particular position in the team. So I think we might find that shared out a little bit, particularly when you've got 3 game weeks as we've got coming up. After we play Cardiff in the next home game, we've then got a home game with Preston in midweek before we go to Coventry, and in weeks like that I think you might well share the load a little bit more than we've done so far.
Danny, as the next player, coming off the back of a big game like Monday night as well, you want to prove yourselves to this home fans, won't you, and keep that 100% record of not being defeated here as well. You want to send a message back to the rest of the Championship as well this afternoon. Yeah,
in a way, obviously unbeaten here in the league, obviously not defeating the FA Cup to Stoke, but yeah, it's not a case. Do you know what, today I would take, as Rob says there, if we win 1-0 and we're not quite at it, I would take that over playing really well and we come off 0-0 or 1-1, for instance. But at the stage of the season, is it 13 games left?
Yeah.
Where points matter more than performances, really. It's great if you can get both. And as you say, and obviously the fact that we're getting Romain back and Tommy Watson coming back into it at the business end of the season, Alan Brown as well.
Yeah, and if it is playoffs for Sunderland, momentum's a big part of that, Rob, isn't it? So going into the playoffs with a big lot of momentum, it's always sometimes the team that finishes 5th or 6th in the playoffs that has the momentum because they've gone on a late run. Yeah. We need to get the momentum up, head of steam.
You're 100% right. Firstly, I think we still, despite Monday's result, I think we still keep our eye on the top 2. Beat Hull today, hope Leeds beat Sheffield United on Monday night, and things open up a little bit. We're still a gap, but a breachable gap. However, with my realistic head on, it does look likely that we'll be in the playoffs. What we don't want to do is canter to the end of the season with not much jeopardy in the games, because you can't, Danny will tell you, you can't turn form on and off like a tap. We can't just meander to the end of the season and then go into 3 crucial games and suddenly think we're going to be right at it. We've got to be at it. And I think keeping an eye on those top 2 positions and trying to go for at least the 2nd position will help to maintain that kind of attitude, that kind of momentum in the side. And if we do fall slightly short and end up 3rd or 4th and in the playoffs, well, at least we'll still have been playing, if you like, flat out till the end of the season, rather than going into a sort of cruise control, meandering to the end of the season, thinking we're safely in the playoffs, which we're not. If we take our eye off the ball, that gap could soon disappear and we could miss out. Teams have done that before.
But I think 13 games is a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time, 39 points still to go for. You're quite right, it's a very good point you make, Frankie, because if we did take our eye off the ball and just think we're going to coast into the playoffs, it might well be, as you say, often the teams who've come on a late run, who are really at it, are flying, are full of confidence, and those games could be very difficult for us. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's just beat Hull today, look at this Leeds-Sheffield result on Monday night, and take it from there.
Yeah, back to today's game then, Danny. How does Sunderland approach us this afternoon?
Completely different to Monday in terms of the second half, really, where we're expected to have a lot of the ball, which we will do. Trey and Dennis can spend more time, and certainly the 2 wingers in Lefay and obviously Patrick as well in their half. Decent, I like Louis Coyle, fullback, the skipper on that right hand side. Generally, I like him. He's a good defender as well. So it's going to be a difficult one. We might have to be patient in the ground as well. And if it goes 0-0, 80 minutes, and we're still having to dig in, and then you get the result over the line, so be it. But yeah, ideally we want to get the ball, move the ball quicker. Simple as that. I know sometimes we can try and almost bait the opposition into coming in, out of their slots to come and press us, but at the same time maybe taking 1 and 2 touches and zipping the ball around, and then the opposition have got to work harder out of possession as well then, and it drains you as a player. As I say, I've been there, you're shuffling 10-15 yards side to side and it's not getting a touch of the ball, and it's like, God, this is a long old afternoon. And that's when you get the opposition for that little passing lane. It's there for you then. The opposition switch off, and then you get the opportunity.
Okay, the lighthouse is ringing out. The lighthouse horn is ringing out, and it's our time to go to our commentary positions. Rob, thanks as ever for coming on the programme. You can go and have your prawn sandwiches or whatever you do these days. Goodbye, Rob. See you soon. Remember, you can get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com. If you are online as well and you fancy a new top, get part of this new retro remix range as well. Danny hasn't bought one yet, but I'm sure you will. You can get these now at safcstore.com. They are also available in the club shop as well. If you haven't been in the new club shop yet, Where have you been? Okay then, we'll see you very soon here on SAFC Live. 12:30 kickoff. It's Sunderland versus Hull City.